The Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to Stream Street Days 3.5 trillion point two. I'm joined by Clemens from Potsdam. I just said
That's
it quick
right.
as quick as I can. This is the lovely, lovely Clemens, aka Diskorat. If you guys watched our coverage of some of the of Kriegsluntan or the event over in Ireland, you would have seen Clemens playing with his Skaven and a bit of Diskorat on the tabletop, which we had a great time with. And Clemens is here to talk to us about Soulblight Gravelords lists today. So I'm very excited to talk about that. Clemens, how are you? Are you well?
Yeah, fine, despite COVID. Pretty good. Weather gets nice. Lockdown seems to be over in Germany pretty soon.
Yeah, you guys said you're vaccinating a lot of people at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's like 1 million, sometimes even more than 1 million people a day, at least working days. On the weekends, it's a little bit less. So I'm hopeful that it's over soon. Now, I think tomorrow all the bars can open outside, the beer gardens.
Oh, nice. What, tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow in Berlin at least, and I think in Bavaria and Saxonia they open a few days ago because they're more special and they need a beer.
They do need a beer. The
Yeah.
beer gardens opened up in the UK a few weeks ago, and then our indoor restaurants have opened up a little bit now as well, which I think is cool. I'm just going to say hello to everyone in the chat. I want to say big love to everyone. Shugo, happy birthday to your son for his first birthday. That's super cute. Thanks to everyone for joining us live. Warchibi, Get Hucked, Kill Panic, Gabawaki, Tropic Hammers, what's going on? I hope you're all well. Arcane Ring. Thanks everyone for joining us. Mr. Tiger. So yeah, Clemens is all the way over from Germany. Thanks to everyone for listening to the podcast. Stay hydrated, my hydro homies, and thanks to all those thugs over on YouTube. Diadrin got his first jab today. Congratulations! I get my first jab in tomorrow morning. Clemens, you've already had your first jab, right?
Yeah, and the second one in I think 2.5 weeks till my second.
Yeah, exactly. We're all slowly getting there, which is nice, which means events opening up. Are there any events planned in Germany, like, soon or in the next few months? Have we started to get a calendar fill up? No.
No, it's not even allowed now to gather them more than 2 households, I think.
Okay. Is there a roadmap? Do you guys have a roadmap for maybe in 6 months you could hold events, or is that not there yet?
No. It's just on like what happens next week and the next week or the week after. That's all we have planned out, or the government has planned out.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. We've got a bit more of a roadmap here in the UK, so for better or worse. And so there are events scheduled. Whether or not they'll occur, we'll see. But obviously we have events scheduled, which I think is really great. There will be no attempt by me to do a German accent in any way. I think the best I could do is say where Clemens was from. That's about the best I could do. Everything else I won't talk about. So Clemens, you're here today to talk about Soulblight Gravelords. Have you played the Death faction before?
Yes, all of them. Started. My main faction is, as you said, it's Skaven.
Mm-hmm.
I got 10,000 points.
You've got a lot.
Yeah, more than a lot. But Death was always my side girlfriend.
Was it your side piece? Okay.
Yeah. Played a little bit fantasy. I started really early with the hobby, in 1999, when I was just elementary school, and Skaven was always the main thing, and then Death in second. And with Age of Sigmar, I started with Legion of Nagash, then I changed to FAC because you needed less models. Then Nighthound hit. I started for a while, played some local tournaments with Nighthound, but as we all know, they are not that great. And finally, I got an Osiris Bone Reaper army, played it in Kringslutan, but just once, and I'm not happy with that faction. It's just straightforward. You don't die, you do a lot of damage. That's not enough movement for me. I was bored by the army. Yeah.
And Krigslutan was a Swedish event, because you travelled a bit, right? You went over to the Republic of Ireland for an event, and then next time I saw you, we were in Sweden together. You travel. What is it about traveling to events, obviously before COVID, that you really enjoyed? It was just it was fun.
Definitely, the main part was there are not much tournaments in Germany. We had one GT last week in the middle of Corona, I think there was like a sign up of 100 people and like 60 people went there. Me and my buddies decided to not go because it was a good decision. I think just a week after the event, the cases went up, and I have a family with a small child. My friend with whom I wanted to travel has a small child, and we decided that's not a good idea to travel for fun. But before that, we only had small local tournaments here in Berlin, most of the time organized by GW, or some private tournaments, but most of the time it's one days. And we had one big tournament in Berlin. That's official GW tournament, Berlin Championships.
Is that the trophy behind you from the official?
That's the trophy. Yeah, that's
that's a big
golden
flex.
demon.
We had this one thing here. There's the trophy for it. All right, good.
And, no, it was great organization. It was a 2-day tournament. The first day was at your local shop. We have 4 GW stores here, and each had a small tournament, and the best 2 players went to the final tournament. So you had 8 people there who played each other in 3 rounds, so 6 games in total. That was fun. It was my first big tournament. I cheated a little bit because I played Flesh Eater Chords just after the book hit.
Quite good. It was quite good at that point.
Yeah, but I was up in the final against a really good player. I think he played for the 40k ETC team before, when Germany was still great at playing at the ETC, and it was a pretty tough final game and against Daughters of Cain, and I just won because I could kill all of his heroes with a double activation, and it was I think Arcane Places of Power where you just could score with heroes.
Yes.
And so he tabled me, I think, at the second turn, but he had no heroes to score, and that's why I won. And after this, the next tournament was at the Wargamer World in Nottingham.
Yes.
There was we wanted to travel there. Me and my brother. He's the painting guy. I'm the gaming guy, and there was I think this was the AOS Open Day. So we combined all of this. There was a tournament, meeting engagement, your favorite.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How was that?
Pretty fun, actually. I really like it because you can play it on a small table. You don't need as many models, and there's a lot of strategy to it because you set up in different rounds, and you have to think about where do I put it, in which scenario can put which models on the table on which edge. I liked it. I won that I won that tournament as well, to do the next flex. Then I went to Dublin to the Hero Face GT, and was my third big tournament. As you can see on YouTube, I won that as well. And after this, that's my nice. You can't see it. Looks like how's it called? Iron Man. Because it's gold and red, you can see it over there. Yeah, and after this, I went to Sweden as well. Was not that great playing wise. A lot of cool people over there, but I dropped out of the tournament to have a few nice days with my girlfriend. She traveled with me to Sweden, to Stockholm. It was the right decision, not because the tournament was bad or anything. I just didn't like playing with OBR. And after this,
if you don't like the faction, I can kind of understand it from a TO's perspective, but I can also understand you wanting to just spend some time with your family ultimately. So it makes loads of sense.
Yeah, and before I dropped out, I made sure that there was replacement, and some other guy dropped out because he was sick, so that evened it out. So no influence on the tournament. Okay. Yeah, and after this, I plan to go to a lot of other countries. I was really looking up for the big German GT. We planned on going to Prague. I think Denmark we thought about, and then COVID hit. And since then, I only played like 6-7 games.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can not play much. Have you played any TTS? And is TTS big in the German community?
Not at all. Not that I see it. I played one game with a gaming buddy. He had a hard time playing because his computer was not that good, and that was it. Okay. Yeah, I think it's not the same.
Do you think it's a big deal in the German community or not at all?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh, interesting.
Never
okay,
seen
all
it.
right, cool.
Seen it.
Well, so the Soulblight Gravelords books landed, and also the Twitch chat are now calling you the Flex Master because it started out with the big flex of having Cursed City behind you, and then it just started racking up the trophies. It's a big flex. So everyone's happy with that. So Soulblight Gravelords book, I asked you this question already, but I'm going to ask you again. I did a review, and then I did a review with Sam as well the day after. So AOS List Lab Sam. How do you feel that we did with the review? Do you feel like we hit it, or do you think that there's a lot more to explore with the book?
I think there's a little bit more to explore. Not that much. It's pretty simple because you have no shooting phase, as always with Death. You have the magic phase is pretty small compared to what was called Legion of Sacrament, which got dropped out, where you had a lot of magic to put in. One of the spell lores, the vampire spell lores, is I think the worst spell lore in the whole game. And that's
it's a really bad spell lore. Yeah,
and most of your magicians can only take spells from this spell lore. Yeah, so it comes down to moving, charging, and fighting in close combat. But I think there are some really cool things you can do, especially with setup, a lot of deep strike, and a lot of cool things you can do with your small units with 6-inch pile moves, and some cool things with skeletons that we'll talk at the end.
Well, let's look at this now, because you sent me over. Look at this spreadsheet, absolutely hammering it home. So appreciate you. You sent me some lists, or you've been looking at some lists that you've wanted to put together, and I think we could use this to talk about the war scrolls a little bit and go through these. So the first one. Oh no, wait, I'm on the wrong page. Sorry, bad me. So the first one that we're looking at, you're looking at the ups and downs. So like the pros and cons of the book as a whole, and things that you enjoy. So talk me through these.
Yeah, just some mental notes for me. Let's start with the downs. The meta right now, I think, is really heavy on shooting and magic, and that's where the book is vulnerable. I think there's no pluses to Dispel or Unbind, or maybe with Belladonna. I'm not sure if she gets +1 to Dispel or Unbind. And there's nothing really to protect you from shooting. A lot of the important characters are monsters, so no look out, sir. I think there's 1 or 2 artifacts that give you -1 to hit against shooting, but I think they're always better artifacts to choose than those. And also you're vulnerable to mortal wounds most of the time. You got a 6+ save against it, but that's
the best you've got. It's quite interesting actually, that 6-up DPR. Like when you start thinking about it, and you start, because it's something so common in those death armies that you don't really even think about it. But actually, like, it pretty much a 5+ version of it carried Hagnar through many a challenge. And there are, as you say, a lot of mortal wounds that get pumped out now. And that 6-up DPR is fine on like those 6-wound characters, because it's going to save them. Maybe it's going to save them from the Kairos one-shot. It's probably going to save them from a Croak turn 1, like Deliverance and stuff. But maybe not. But like, it's not great. Like, it's not the 5-up even that you would see on like a Vermin Lord to help, or like Stone Skeleton on a Frost Lord. And I do think that some of those like on foot characters could have maybe got a +1 on that, and that would have made them a little bit more survivable, I think.
Yeah, and what some people forget is that if you save a wound with a DPR save, you can save that, or you can try to save that wound again. So the better the DPR save, the more wounds you get effectively. For example, a 5+ save means you have effectively 50% more wounds, and the 4+ save means you have effectively 100% more wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the 6+ is just 16, 20%, something like this.
Yeah, and like Nick says in the chat, it's better than nothing. I'm not knocking it in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. Obviously, it's great to have. I think more what I'm trying to get at is that like it's already something that we see, and we already see factions and all units that have it and have it better. and that's maybe why we see them taken in some situations. Like I'm thinking about things like Chaos Knights, for example, and being able to like shrug off mortal wounds via spells and other stuff. That's it's not even the main way you get mortal wounds. It's a pretty common way of getting mortal wounds into your army. Sorry, I don't want to derail you. Please continue.
Yeah, and there are some units that have a bit better DPR save, like the small Fenris vampires that are locked to the whole Cursed City bundle that looked really good before with a 5+ DPR save and I think 8-inch move and a lot of attacks, but you can't really play them. Yeah, 3 of them to pay 800 points for with a lot of shitty heroes.
Well, I know Nathan's playing them. That's the only person I know who's playing them at the moment. He's playing that and his zombicide skeletons is what he's putting together. But sorry, after you, carry on.
Yeah, that's a benchmark if he's playing it.
That's an indicator of it, yeah.
Just as good as
Yeah, just as good as the Gobblepalooza. At least as good as the Gobblepalooza is where it is. Go on, after you continue.
Yeah, where were we? Yeah, that's I think the major downside, and I think it's a rushed battle tome if you look at it. I think they could have easily made 2 battle tombs out of it, like they did with the orcs. Make the one side the old vampires and the other side all the werewolf vampires, because there are enough models. I think you have like 7 heroes on the wolf side. You have the dire wolves. You have the 2 units that are in the Cursed City book. You have those red swarms and bat swarms that are not used in the Cursed City, and you could easily have put out like a big wolf or something to give them a monster, and then you would have had a whole book. I mean, that's easily more war scrolls than all of Flesh Eater Courts have. And could have put a little bit more thought into it. That's what I think. And when we come down to the sub-factions, I think, that's sometimes it's just lazy rule writing. Okay. But we will try to make the best out of it. Best example for that lazy rule writing is, and I have to look up the names, the Vergarian Dynasty with the rerolls to casts for vampires.
Yeah.
And I think 4 of the vampire heroes that are locked to this faction can't cast. That's just stupid.
But 2 can. Is the
it's just 1, or is it? I think it's just 1.
Is it not Belladonna? Oh no, Radicar's not a wizard, of course.
No,
he's not a wizard. So the 1
in both forms.
1 can. Positives.
Yeah.
Positives.
And she's the best caster in the game, in the whole book, and she gets another bonus on top. So that's, I don't know why the wolf guys, the feral wolf guys, have to be the best casters in this book when there was Legion of Sacrament before. And same goes with the Legion of Night. With you get +1 save in the first battle round for your skeletons, and also you can set up your whole army not on the board on the first battle round. So that's stupid as well, I think. Yeah.
I thought you liked the book, Clemens. You said you liked it.
Yeah, we are in the sites. We are in the part now where I talk about the downs.
Okay. Oh, yeah, the downs. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
And let's changes and talk about the ups.
Okay, sure.
I really like the movement, the setups. Yeah, a lot of deep strikes. I think that's fun, at least if it's better done than in a Beast of Chaos book. And a lot of the important war scrolls I think have good movement, and the ones that don't have good movement you can at least set up somewhere in the grave sites. So I really like that. That gives you options, that lets you play defensive in the first battle rounds against shooting or magic.
Yeah, so I'd like to say something about the deep strikes themselves, actually, having thought about this over the past week. So one of the things that is really obvious is that there's a lot of ways to do that inside this book, but at the moment, that's not really a problem because there's already a lot of units that can teleport in the game, and they're problematic. And they're not and they've got like pluses to charge or whatever the situation, like Hannah Gork, and you've got that extra D6 before you even charge. A bunch of different things. However, in the next edition, when your unit coherency is more locked, because normally if you've got like a block of 40, you're able to like you can create those zodiac signs, like you're trying to like summon a Balrog or something on the board with your units for screening. But when you have to have each model within an inch of two other models, so your coherency is locked, like you see in 40k, you're going to have a lot more board space that's free, or you're going to have controlling board space is going to be a lot harder, I think. So I still don't think it's great compared to a lot of the other stuff, but they have lots of options to do that, and I think ultimately defending your backlines is going to be a lot harder in the future because of screening and other stuff. So it's going to be more like it's going to be stronger in the next edition. So actually, just thinking it through, I was like, do you know what? That seems like a positive. We're not really giving it at the moment, but that's because we're putting it into the situation at the moment, right? I think teleports, as much as I don't really like them, are going to get a lot stronger basically in the future, because of the coherency getting smaller and therefore board control being worse. So it's actually something to think about, and like there's probably some units that, like Vargeists, and even where you can just pop up some not Black Knights because you won't take them, pop up some Blood Knights. It's pretty scary, I think. Maybe that's not true.
Yeah, and I see it from a defensive point of view. If it's not on the board, you can't kill it, and that's important.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then Nick's pointed out that obviously that also, in smaller boards though, then that might counteract that situation. I'm not sure. Like, we'll see. We'll see where it ends up. But after you. Please continue, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I really like the buffs in the book. It's no rerolls. That's always a good thing. Yeah, so you don't have to pick out your dice and roll them again.
I mean, it's good if it's the opponent. It's not good if it's you. You'd like some rerolls.
In Ireland, I played 80 Plague Monks. That was a pain, yeah, for me and
fun, I imagine. Yeah.
No. And I really like. I think there should not be rerolls in the game. If you can do the same thing with +1 to hit, just a little bit math in there and speed up the game, because it's sometimes just too long if you have to play 3 games, 3 hours each a day.
With 80 Plague Monks.
With 80 Plague Monks and 60 Clan Rats.
It's going to take some time.
Yeah. And the buffs that are in there are good as well, because they're quite strong. It's always like +1 damage or +1 hit and wound, and you affect the whole area. So everything within 12 inches, not just one unit. I really like this. Makes it easy to support your units. And if you don't take the Cursed City War Scrolls in consideration, I think most of the War Scrolls could actually see play in the book, and that's not often with GW books.
That's true. That's true. I think a lot of the scrolls are fairly viable. The scrolls, it's just like when you get those scrolls like powered up, where do they really sit, like power wise? I think is the key part. But yeah. So, and nice saves. You've talked about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. But I have more of this when we come down to the lists.
Okay.
Yeah, and last but not least, I lost the point.
Sorry, good buffs.
No.
Awesome
Yeah,
minis. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's. I think that's everybody has to decide for themselves. I think most people like the Slaanesh models, the new models. I really can't stand them. Yeah.
Oh really? You don't like it? You don't like how they look?
It's not my style. Not enough hair. They're really missing hair. Yeah.
Not something I thought I'd hear say, but fine. Okay.
Well, yeah, there was one thing, but I think I can come back to it when we talk about the lists.
Oh, sure.
Should we start with the first one?
Yeah, I'm ready. It's on the screen for people to look at. The Castelli Dynasty.
Yeah. I have to admit, I did some mistakes in the list. With this, for some reason I thought that you can put all vampire units in a deep strike with the Castellite Dynasty, but it's just the Blood Knights. The plan was to put a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon in a deep strike as well. So small mistake, but I think it's still viable. Just a small note to all the lists. My plan was to play with the characters that are locked into the subfactions and to get the most of the rules, the subfaction rules. So those might not be the best lists overall you will see on tournaments. Just some flair to it, and they are somehow competitive.
Okay.
Yeah. So first, Castellan Dynasty with the Prince Vodrai, Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, who gets the Rousey command. I think everyone who's plays the Castellan Dynasty will use it for the +1 damage. The +1 wound, actually, I'm not really sure how it works. I think Nurgle has something as well, because you allocate wounds to a model, and they go up to, let's say, Blood Knights to 4 wounds. And if you have 3 wounds allocated to it and the turn ends, does the model die? Because it should, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the +1 wound is only important if a model dies. That's the first time you get a bonus out of it. So getting a bonus if model dies, if a model dies, that doesn't sound too good. But +1 damage, I think it's really okay. And to play a little bit defensive, he gets the Fragment of the Keep for -1 wound rolls for enemy units within 6 inches. And because there are no good spells in the spell lore for the vampires, I would give both the Prince Vodrai and the Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon the best spell there is for the +6 movement. Sadly, that's nerfed as well. Should be, in my opinion,
you can't double tap it. It's weird. It's weird, right? Your inherent battle trait allows you to double tap a spell, and then your spell lore says you can't double tap a spell.
Yeah,
it's very weird.
You should be able to target another hero of your army with it. I think that would be the best way. +12 movement is pretty strong, especially if the boards get smaller and all your stuff moves extremely fast. Yeah. Next unit, the only ally I put into the list, Reikenor. I really like him. I think he's a underestimated unit because he.
Sorry, you continue. You were going to tell me the question I was going to ask it was what's he doing, but you continue.
Yeah. If he allocates a wound to himself, he gets +3 to cast, which is really amazing. And as you can see at the end of the list, use the Chronomatic Cogs. So he needs a 4 to cast it, which is like, I think, 85% chance. And And for the units, 2 units of 5 Blood Knights. I really would have liked to put 3 units in there, but I couldn't find the points. 2 units of 3 Wargeist. I think they are really great. Just to drop down, get the +2 charge from the Chronomatic Cogs, and pick out artillery of your opponent, or small heroes, or just a screen left behind to hold an objective. I think they deal enough damage to shift an objective if there are just like 10 small dudes on them, or a lonely wizard. And you can also drop them pretty easily behind the unit. So you charge with your Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, you drop the Vargeist behind them, and they get the +1 damage because they're within 12 inches. So you get them close. And finally, the skeletons are just to screen.
Okay, perfect.
It's. I don't think we'll see that much play from the Castellan Dynasty, because they get the big buffs if they kill a unit, and you're really vulnerable. So it's just a one-trick pony. Charge your opponent, kill some stuff, get better, charge some more, kill it, and then you have won the game. Or if not, you lose.
I think the problem is like, as much as those like Vordrai and the Velars are really good, like that 3-up armor save is really, really good. One of the things that we see a lot, like let's say from Bone Splitters or like Big War, is you generally tend to see like a buffed up rogue idol with quite a good armor save slung at their opponent and kind of used to pin your opponent's army in, and even that doesn't have a very good success rate. And I think Vordrai does some great damage, Velars do some great damage, and so do the Blood Knights. But I think like if your opponent can kind of like handle the initial charge and can burn these things down, then it's not a ton of wounds to get through. It's not that I think it's a bad list. Like I think it's actually really good, and I think it's got some play. It's just and it's not that it's fragile. It's just it doesn't have loads of wounds like you were talking about. Like I think that's kind of where like maybe it's problematic. Like it would, like you say, maybe having one of those units of Vargeist be another unit of Blood Knights, it would have been then like, okay, there's a lot going on here. But there's still a lot of damage coming out of those units, I think, especially like the Vordrai and the Velars together.
And with the deep strike and the chronomatic cogs, you have a lot of movement, and you can really overload the flank of your opponent. So strike on one flank. He has to decide where to put his forces, while most of your units are not on the board. So you can wait a turn, strike on the second turn, see where he moves. Maybe he splits up. Half of his army is too far away to respond, so you can fight with your whole army, half of his army, and then take on the other half. Because you start with Prince Vodrai and the Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon. If Chronomatic Cogs get up, they have 16 inch movements. If one of them gets the spell through, he has 22 movement, gets +2 to charge. That's really big threat range, and Blood Knights and Vargas can just drop wherever you want.
Yeah, and then they can deep strike as well, or they can then charge as well with that +2. Yeah, I think it's really clever having Reignor and the Cogs together, like as allies. Like I think that's really smart, really really useful. And a really clever use of bringing them in there as well, because like you say, a weakness is getting those pluses to cast, so just allying in Reignor, who is obviously going to get that bonus. I think that's a really smart play, really good, really like that.
And he's a good unit. I think he has 14 inch movement as well, 16 with the cogs up, and he has a good spell. He can pick out a model, enemy model, with his corpse candles, so you can get into currency with some screen units. And I think his spell does D3 mortal wounds, and if he kills a model, it does another D3 mortal wounds. So on average, against one wound models, he does 5 mortal wounds. That's pretty good.
That's great. That's really good. Yeah. Really big fan of that.
Yeah, just to be annoying.
I mean, I think it's a great inclusion ultimately. So Vrykros Dynasty. What we seeing here? So this is the one where everyone's a wizard, but no one's a wizard.
Yeah, I think they're a little plain, actually. I really like the models. I definitely get Radaka the Beast and Belladama. They're really strong models for the points. I mean, Radaka is not a monster, if I'm correct. If he summons the wolves, he is effectively 180 points for 12 wounds. He can get lookouts here. He has -1 to hit in melee and range combat, and he can heal. It's really a beast. And if you get a charge, you get this +1 attack. I think is it +1 attack? Yeah, it's +1 attack, not +1 damage. And Belladama is a strong wizard. I really like her. Yeah, she has a great buff. She has that Kairos spell for poor people. That's really great.
The Kairos spell for poor people is my favourite new description. I'm stealing that. Thank you. Yeah. Please continue. Good. Sorry. After you.
Yeah, I thought about putting the mirror in here to get most of the spell, but I think Belladonna has to cast the other spell as well. This Aura with the exploding sixes, which is really strong, especially in the next edition. If you can only get +1 to hit, exploding sixes is another way to get a +1 to hit. Effectively, it's the same. Gets even better if you get rerolls from somewhere. So I really like this. So she's locked down with 2 spells already, and having the Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon casted, it's a waste, I think, with nothing to plus save. I think the mirror's too expensive, and the spell is not that good to make use of it more than that. The Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon gets the +6 movement spell as well, just to be faster.
Yep.
And he gets the command trait, which is really, really good, I think. Hunter Snare could be the only point to play Vigor's Dynasty, to get Belladama another reroll to her casts. Give the Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon a reroll to get this +6 movement, and him counting as 40 models is amazing. We see what Beastclaw Raiders can do. We see what the Giants can do. Yeah, the Gargants can do with it. And 14 is a really good number, because those 10-man units can't hold against him. Or even if there's 20 models on an objective, he will probably do enough damage to kill 6 of them, and then it's your objective. And he has to shoot through 14 wounds with a 3-up save. I really like this, and it's easier for him to get that +6 movement spell off. So he's 20-inch movement. He can really be annoying against your opponent. Yeah, and with the artifact, he gets plus the extra attacks on his lands. That's especially good when he charges. So I think it's on average 5 attacks with 4 damage and rend -2.
I really like the +T3 attacks on the charge. I think that's a huge win on the Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon. Like, definitely, I think it's a great artifact.
It's a good way to get this rend in this army. I think there is not much to get a rend. It's on the dragon. I think the more on the dragon has -2 rend, and maybe
Manfred's Beast, has -2. But yeah, you're right. Rend. It's kind of interesting. The army produces a lot of high armor saves, and then doesn't produce a lot of rend to follow it up. And if we are moving into like a high armor save meta, because we know Stormcast are getting some 2-up save armor save models, then really looking for rend or mortal wounds is going to be a kind of takeaway for what you're going to want to look for in your army. Otherwise, you're just going to be like slapping against nothing for a long time, which would be wild.
Yeah, and outside of zombies, there's no good way to get mortal wounds in this army. So -2 rend, really important here. Yeah, the Dire Wolves. Another thing I think is lazy. I think the subfaction benefit from the Vergos Dynasty is +1 wound if you are within a Vampire Lady.
Yeah.
And if it's really kept to +1 with the next edition, you can't really use Dire Wolves because they get +1 to wound on charges. And you get another +1 wound from your Vergos Dynasty's rules. And that's just and the Dire Wolves are the subfaction, are the battle line for this unit. It makes more sense. So another lazy rule writing. Maybe it's not the case with the next edition. We'll see.
Yeah, can I just thank Maxi Taxi for resubscribing and also XWrath99 for resubscribing. Thank you everyone for tuning in live. Appreciate you loads. Sorry, please continue. Yeah. Just bookkeeping.
And finally, the Blood Knights are just another fast-moving unit that can get a lot of buffs in this Vergos Dynasty. They get +1 wound. They get the exploding 6s. They get +1 attack from Radaka the Beast. So they can really do damage. They're fast enough. And I really like the unit. Maybe we can talk a little bit of the unit. I think you haven't been the biggest fan of Blood Knights.
It's not that I think that they're fine. I think they're pointed really well. I think the situation is they're not bad at all. I think they're good, and I think they're pointed appropriately for how good they are. So I think that they're in a good spot. They're best obviously when they're charging. When they're not charging, they're fine. But the lack of ability to maybe ostracize them out. Obviously, there's the confusing. I know some of the YouTube thugs have had some issues with this. There's the confusing wording on the movement out of combat. So hopefully we see that FAQ'd. So that normal move that we see, which right now is 100% a retreat, therefore they can't charge, gets changed. And if that gets changed so that it's do the mortal wounds, and then can charge, I think they're a brilliant unit. Is where they're at. I don't think they're bad though in any way. I think they're good, and I think that they're pointed for being good. Whereas I still think Eels are underpointed, as an example, like Morsal Guard. I still think they're underpointed, and therefore they're great. That's the kind of sliding scale. It's not that they're bad at all. I think the War Scroll's really nice. I would like to see that ability changed, I think, to do mortal wounds. And then if the ability to do mortal wounds and then charge is it's not a retreat, I think that they're an insanely good unit. And maybe I'm not sure. It's still 15 wounds on a 3-up save, which is good. Again, but there's a lot of stuff and self-healing. But there's a lot of things that can burn through that very quickly. It's just more my point.
Sure, but if they burn through your 200 points unit, they don't burn through your Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. I understand that. I mean, it's still elite amount of wounds, right?
And I can't see a scenario where this normal movement out of combat is a retreat move because you walk over the enemy unit. Otherwise, you wouldn't do damage, and it would be the stupidest retreat move ever. Just
retreat through the enemy. I'd like to see it changed because right now I think people have got their hopes up that it's an offensive move where you plow through, but wording as is currently a retreat. So in the future, I'd like to see that FAQ'd so it makes more sense. Because I'm on the side of I would like it to do that thing. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. And then it's an amazing unit
Yes.
that you can't lock down with a screen.
It goes from good to brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
And imagine 2 units or 3 units just walking over a hero in the back row to charge something else. He just dies.
Yeah, honestly, like, if they get that, huge. But right now, like, that's not where it's at. And so their main trick, which is doing damage when they charge, is negated by their other ability. So they're kind of like, they're in a confusing place, right?
Yeah. Let's wait for the FAQ.
And also, intern Matt says, big love to him, can't wait to see him at the weekend, says, give me Vrykros Blood Knights converted to be riding giant wolves. That would be cool. You could do these Blood Knights. That's a fun hobby challenge, right? A bunch of giant wolves with some vampires on top would be a fun way to do the Blood Knights in this setup.
Yeah, or just imagine if they really splitted the battle tome and you had those small vampires that are on the base of Raduka the Beast riding the dire wolves. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. Yes, good shout. But yeah, so you were talking about Blood Knights.
Yeah, that's it for the list. I would play this list just straightforward. You got a lot of wounds. Got 4 units of 10 dire wolves. That's 20 wounds each. You get another 10 with Raduka the Beast. That's 100 wounds just for the dire wolves. You can use them defensively to save Belladama from getting damage. And I think the hard part here is to get your buffs in the right area. I mean, Raduka has a really strong buff, but he has to charge. Belladama should be behind, but also within 12 inches to give her exploding sixes. And I forgot Lady Annika in this list. I would play Lady Annika actually in Vergos Dynasty.
Okay, talk to me about why, because I don't see why you would ever.
Yeah. For one reason, I think Lady Annika gets better with the next edition, because I think generals get better with the next edition. I really think command points are dependent on them, and then it's a free command point every turn for her. But also in Vergos Dynasty, she gives the +1 wound aura, which is a strong buff. And if you think of it, if any other army had a 115 point hero that would give +1 wound aura, that would be, I think, really strong. And you get her.
She's not very fast though.
Yeah, but you don't need her in close combat initially, so she can run all the time. And you really don't need the command points, I think, in this army. At least not before Raduka charges, so she can keep up with a good run roll. And she gives, like all heroes, the 6+ invulnerable save, or the death save, DPR. Sorry, DPR. And other than that, I really like the rules on her. She has a 4+ invulnerable save. That's effectively 12 wounds on her, and if she kills just 1 unit, she heals up to full. So it's just a little buffing, annoying unit. And imagine her standing on the edge of a big unit, blocking them close combat. They do 3-4 damage to her, and then she kills just 1 model, and she's back up to full health.
I think I can completely understand that. I think there's also an argument also for the Rat King as well. Like, he dies, you bring him back, and then you can use him to put that aura from him as well somewhere on the board. So I see that. I see that.
She is more consistent. The Red King, it's a 4+. You roll it or you don't, and then he's dead.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
And we really need an FAQ. The question is, if you dies once, can you roll all rounds, or can you just try once and then he's dead forever?
I think you can try all rounds.
Yeah.
As I currently read it, you can try all rounds, and then if 2 die, you can try and roll for both. But like, again, just an FAQ. I think needs sorting on that. So that's Vrykros. That's my preferred one, by the way. I like Vrykros. Like, I think that the reroll cast, because some of those, but the reroll cast doesn't affect the Necromancer, right? Because it's only vampires can reroll.
Yeah.
And that's pretty.
I think the best spell a vampire has is on Neferata, and she has her own keyword, so she doesn't get the bonus. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fine.
Other than that, it's just like you see here, +6 movement on the Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon. Get a second chance to roll that 5+. Okay, Legion of Blood.
I think a lot of people are excited about Legion of Blood.
I really like it. I think it's a completely different way to play. It's the way to play annoyingly.
Yeah.
Just to annoy your opponent, and you probably don't make friends with it, but it's a little bit different than all the other lists.
Sign me up.
Neferata, of course. I think she's amazing with her new buffed spell. Sadly, she doesn't get +1 to cast, but why should she get +1? She's just a 5,000-year-old vampire. Why should she be good at magic? Instead to that old Russian lady on a wolf. Yeah. Then the Vergarian Lord for the first time. A really underestimated unit, I think. He's fairly pointed with 280 points, maybe a little bit too much. But he has great movement. He has great abilities, especially this -1 rend, -1 rend in close combat. And you can make this even better with the Legion of Blood, because you can give him +1 save. I didn't write it down here, but he gets the spell. We guess which spell I would give him.
Is it the orb? No, I feel like it might be the pinions. Yeah,
it's the +1 movement spell, and I think he has 12-inch movement flying, so he goes up to 18-inch movement, and then he's a 2+ save with ignoring -1 save. He has 10 wounds. He has good self healing. With a little bit of luck, you can get run and charge in the first battle round if you roll that 1. Otherwise, he can make sure that Neferata or himself can heal themselves with his command ability, if you're lucky with the roll. What most people forget is that he doesn't have any brackets. So he's, no matter if he has 1 wound or 10 wounds, he will always be his strongest.
That's fair.
But what makes him really, really good here is the +1 save. So he's a 2+ save
2+,
model.
Ignoring rend 1, basically, with healing.
Yeah. Again, if you shoot at him with mortal wounds or with -1 rend in shooting, then he will die pretty fast, I guess, with 10 wounds. But if they shoot at him, they don't shoot at Neferata. That's a good thing, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah. I also have a Necromancer. He gets the auto unbind on 5+, which is an amazing artifact. Yeah.
Agreed. That's super strong.
18-inch range. And you can even try to dispel it once or unbind it, and then you can try again. And with a 5+, you should get maybe 1, maybe 2 important casts from your opponent over a whole game. And I think that's really strong. Maybe the strongest artifact in the whole book, with a little bit luck involved, of course. Some games you won't roll any 5+. Also, the Vergarian Lord would get the -1 bravery bubble. I think everything within 6 inches get -1 bravery. And because just a small rule for the battle traits for the whole army is that you give -1 or -2 bravery within the whole army or for your opponent if he's in combat with 1 or more summonable units. And as you can see, there are a lot of those units here: 40 zombies, 2 times 20 zombies, 2 times 10 dire wolves, and 2 corpse cards. All of them, with the exception of 1 unit of 20 zombies, are in the Death Stench Drove Battalion. That gives all those summoner units +1 attack if they are within within 12 of the corpse card, which makes the zombies from being great to being amazing with 2 attacks each. If you get 40 zombies in range, you can really do some mortal wounds. But as I said, the thing with this army is to be annoying. As firstly, you have the Vergarian Lord who should not die in close combat. You have Neferata with her -1 hit aura. You got the auto unbind, and you got 1 corpse card at least. I would go for the -1 wound roll. Then as Neferata and the Necromancer can both take a spell from the good lore. I would give one probably the -1 attack and one the -1 hit rolls. And then you can start really stacking those debuffs on enemy units. And with all those hit rolls, it gets really tough. Or with all those debuffs, it gets really tough to shoot all through those zombies. I think it's 120 wounds there.
Of zombies,
yeah, zombies and direwolves.
Yeah.
I would go for more zombies, but you need 2 units of direwolves for the battalion. And I think it's really good to go for the battalion because it's amazing. And in Legion of Blood, you get the 2nd artifact. And Legion of Blood is one of the few who has 2 really good artifacts. And finally, the Mortis engine. Because it's pretty easy to get -3 bravery in this army. Because if you're in close combat with 2 units of direwolves and the Vergarian Lord, it's -3 bravery. And a lot of other units should have minus bravery as well. And the Mortis engine can just deal mortal wounds. And especially if you look at units like eels, -1, -2 bravery can really hurt them. And the Mortis engine could just snipe 1 or 2 models out of there. And the plan is to get as much minus bravery on the opponent as possible, and then just kill a few models in each unit of your opponent with the Mortis engine and all the models you have. And hope that models start running. And with Legion of Blood, if 1 model runs, these 3 extra models run. So if you get a bravery shock, better shock on something like eels, the whole unit could easily run. Yeah,
that's nice. Especially like as maybe with Stormcast, we might see more elite infantry, and we might see more elite units generally take to the field. So even something like 6 Gore Grunters, like if you can take 1 and you can take another D3 off. 1 runs and you can take another D3 off. You're in a really good spot. So yeah, like I can completely see the strategy, especially playing into the right matchups. So yeah, 100%. Like I think that there's some real play there in the future, especially.
Yeah, don't know if I would play it, especially as it's just annoying. As I said, there's not much damage output. You have nothing else.
The zombies can do quite a bit if they get into combat.
Yeah, and get the +1 attack. Then it's, I think 20 zombies are 40 attacks. That's 6 mortal wounds. I think that can hurt a unit.
And if they've got Van Hels, so they're piling attacking twice.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Like, which I think is huge.
Okay. Legion of Night. I actually like the most Legion of Night. Especially as I like skeletons. And there's a really cool thing to do with skeletons and Van Hels's stance. But let's start on the top. Manfred, of course. Probably the best war scroll in the whole book.
Very good.
380 points, 3+ save. Has 12 wounds now. Can just teleport out of combat if he doesn't like it there. So you get a free teleport nearly every turn if you want. A Vergarian Lord again. He gets the command trait to get +1 attack wholly within 12 of him if he kills the model. So it's nearly the same ability as Manfred has. With the good thing is that all of his attacks are his own. He has no mount. I thought about Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, but the only thing he has to kill those models are his lands. And he has a little bit more attacks. Also, he's much cheaper. So you get more stuff in there. A Necromancer, he gets this plus casting artifact where he can't move or fight in the turn at the Balevent Vortex. So he doesn't have to move. He gets, I think it's 10 inches more because it's for the cast. I think it's 6 from the ability, 1 inch from the setup, and 3 inches from the Balevent Vortex base.
Yeah.
So it's 10 inches more range, 28 inches range on his Van Hels's Dance. Also, starting from the second turn, you can cast Van Hels's Dance and a debuff spell, like -1 attack on an enemy with 20-inch ranges. That's really good.
Way of making him a 2-cast wizard. Like, pay for it. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think even with the Balin Vortex, I mean, he gets +1 save, and I think he has 5+ save, so he's a 4+ save. Put him in cover, he's a 3+ save.
Yeah.
And you can still allocate wounds to the zombies in this list.
Yeah, that's true.
2 times 30 skeletons. 1 unit of Vargeist, just to be annoying. Drop them down. Go for catapults or ballistas or small heroes. And 20 Graveguard and 2 times 20 zombies. And the zombies are only there for being chef. Screen your army. You get really flexible here with the setups because everything can go in a deep strike if you want. You could start with 20 zombies, 2 times 20 zombies and a Necromancer on the board, and the rest can go deep strike, Wargeist in the air, skeletons in the grave, and the rest on the edge. But the cool thing with skeletons is that skeletons resurrect themselves if they attack. You get on a 4+, so half of unit. With Van Hels's Dance, you can activate them twice. So start with the Vergarian Lord in close combat. Hopefully kill something. Get +1 attack on everything wholly within 12 inches. Hopefully get Manfred there, who gives +1 hit, +1 wound. He gets +1 attack on all his attacks. So the horse, the ghosts, his 2 close combat weapons. So he gets much more scary. If he kills any units, the skeletons get +1 attack as well if they're in range. So you can get +1 attack on the skeletons, +1 hit, +1 wound. You activate them twice. And you don't have to activate them early because you get, for the first activation, you get half your unit back. And for the third activation, for the second activation, you get another half of the dead ones back. So 75% of your losses will come back if the opponent can't kill 30 skeletons in one go. And the good thing here is it's you can just conga line charge the opponent depending on how much damage output he has. Minimize the damage output. Let them kill 20 models and you resurrect 15 of them and just put the 50 models into close combat where they are in range of Manfred and the Vergarian Lord.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, so take from the back and put in the front.
Yes.
Oh, that's really clever. That's really nice. That's a lovely piece of tech. Yeah, so you delete the back bit of the unit out of buff, you let them kill you, and then you use the resurrection to push them forward. That's fun.
And especially something if you chart something scary with more models, like I don't know, orcs or eels or the half-god berserkers. If they can just attack 1 or 2 of your models, or they only can attack with 4 or 5 of their models, they have to attack you. Then you strike back with even more skeletons at the front. I would really like.
That's really nice. Yeah.
I would really like to see an FAQ here, because I'm not sure how the battle shock for the skeletons works. The rule says that you have to count every model that's slain, but before you do a battle shock, the model comes back. Does it count as slain if it's resurrected or not?
I'm not sure. That's a great point.
Yeah. Me neither. Yeah. Because when it doesn't count as slain, it gets even better because they're pretty much battle shock immune. You probably get your +1 or +2 bravery back with them. They have 10 bravery base, and if you lose effectively just 3 models or so, they're nearly completely battle shock immune. And finally the Graveguard. You can pretty much do the same thing. They are not resurrecting, but you can get +1 hit, +1 wound of them. They are of course the ones with the great swords. Because if you give them up to +2 attacks, they have 4 attacks each with 2 damage, -1 rend. You can give them +1 hit, +1 wound, So they are 2+, 3+, -1 rend, 2 damage, 4 attacks each. And if you get the right setup, I think they can do like 160 wounds with 1 health stance.
Yeah, Graveguard are incredible. It's one of the things I would be tempted to do was try and see how I could max out as many Graveguard in a list, maybe like 2 or 3 blocks of 20 Graveguard, and then try and like use the rest of my army just to control the board so I can push the Graveguard into the opponent's face. But yeah, like I think having that threat, because you've already got the Manfred as a threat as well, right, and the Vergarian Lord. So you've got a lot of threats already. So they're probably not going to be concentrating on the Graveguard, but they're going to do a lot of output when they get there.
Yeah, they have to decide: are they going for Manfred, for the skeletons, for the Graveguards? And if your opponent has to decide, you can make errors, right?
100%. I agree with you. Yeah. I think having the Necromancer with that +2 casting and the Balewind is a really smart play as well. Because of Van Hel's having that extended range, I think is really nice. More likely to cast, which is good. And I think also one of those things is having access to the other spell that you want to cast that's not the Law of Vampires. I think is a really smart play as well. I think that's really nice. And even making him a little bit more survivable, which is also a bonus.
Yeah, and you give the +1 casting to the Vergarian Lord as well, and Manfred, who have at least decent spells. I think the Vergarian Lord has -1 wound.
Yeah.
Or +6 inch movement. And Manfred, I think the spell is not that great. I think it's just mortal wounds. But you can take one spell from the good spell law. So he can cast minus movement or minus attack or minus hit. So that's I think pretty good. And I like the resurrection of the skeletons. Yeah, it's a little bit tactic involved. Yeah, you have to position right, more than once. Position right on the charge, position your heroes right, and then position right when you bring your models back. Yeah, I really like this. And as I said, I like skeletons, and I think I have all I need for this except the Vergarian Lord. So
okay, so just get that guy, and it's on.
Yes.
So
and, yeah.
So how do you feel about like the competitive nature of the book? Like having written a bunch of lists, constructed it, looked at like some of the major threats out there. Where would you pitch the book, or some of the better lists in the book for its ability to take out a tournament? How do you think people should, on average, do? Let's just say everyone's of equal skill at an event. How do you think that the Gravelord should do, really?
I think it's a classical 3-2 army, but you can take out events with luck involved. I think there are opponents who have a really hard time against you, especially those who lack rend, or only have close combat, lack mortal wounds, lack shooting. And there are a lot of them around. But if you face against Seraphon or Siege with Archaon and Kairos, you pretty much have a hard time. You can only hope that you set up right, are fast enough, good charges, and kill stuff before it kills you. That's what I think.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's very fair. I think 4-1 is good, and then anyone getting a 5-0 is doing really well. So just see that as a challenge if you want to collect the army. There you go. Because I think like some of the things we didn't talk about is all of that synergy sometimes falls apart when 3 salamanders or 40 skinks or 3 flamers or a bunch of stuff just burns through some of it. I mean, even like a KO boat, there's a lot of stuff. I think all of the things you talked about as negatives are super accurate, and I think all of the pros. And I think eventually maybe we see some points moved around here. We could end up with a very scary army because, like you said, the Vergarian Lord ignoring Rend 1 and already being a 3-up save, very survivable. Throw them in with a Veloz or with Manfred, probably a little bit better than I necessarily gave them credit for. Like, I think it's good, don't get me wrong, because then you can't punch through those armor saves. I guess the real question is, where's the rest of the damage coming from your army? Because in some other cases, if you pin stuff back, maybe you'd have some stuff at the back of your army shooting into it, kind of like whittling it down. But you are really relying on, like, you know, Manfred, like, beating the snot out of stuff. Skeletons really beating stuff up. Like, or Blood Knights, or whatever the thing that you've brought to, like, do the damage, right? I think that's one of those things. So, yeah. It's been lovely talking to you, Clemens. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely having our German correspondent on. It's been very fun. Have you got any shout-outs? Anyone in the local community you want to shout out? Anything like that?
Yeah, I think Nikita was on your show before. He's from
Yes.
Berlin as well. Yeah, great guy, amazing painter. And the rest of my local community, I think most of them listen to your show.
Thanks.
Passive listeners, and yeah, all great guys. Can all play really well. Keep me pushing. Joining tournaments all over the world. 2 of them were with us in the Hero Face GT in Dublin.
Are you planning on having more events in your local area?
I think it's all frozen with Corona at the moment.
So you just got to wait.
Yeah, but let's see how it's going in different countries. I traveled before. I will travel again. Definitely will go to Nottingham again.
Okay. You should definitely come here. You come to the arena and play at the arena. That'll be fun.
Yeah, let's see. And Dublin is a must-have for me. I have to go there and defend my crown.
Yeah. And also those guys are great, aren't they?
Yeah, the Grays are great. Yeah, more shout-outs, yeah. Mick and the guy, Chin, and Pete, especially Pete. Amazing guy. Amazing game at him in the final at the Euroface GT. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me.
Oh no, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on. I've absolutely loved it. I hope everyone else has enjoyed it as well. Are you on Twitter? Can we get you on Twitter? No, we're not doing that, are we?
No. Twitter is not a thing in Germany, I think.
Is it
it's for I think for famous people and journalism. I think that's it.
Are you just using too much TikTok? That's what you're spending your time on. I get it. Okay, that's fine.
No, I'm old school. I have Facebook. That's it. Facebook. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, it's been lovely having you on. Thanks for everyone for joining us live. You guys are all brilliant. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Don't forget to join us tonight for the 40k Spice Center. So that's later tonight. Don't forget to join us tomorrow for 2 shows. The day show is me and Sam going through some lists for a local event of his, and also through the the New Zealand Masters event. And then at 5 p.m. tomorrow, I'll be going through the lists for the Super Series match that's this weekend that are coming in tonight. So that's really exciting. So join us for that. So that's 5 p.m. tomorrow. And then Saturday, we'll be doing a day stream and the stream for the tournament, for the Games Workshop animation reveal. And then Sunday, we're going to be live all day for the first match of the Super Series back after COVID, which is going to be good. We're going to go do a raid now. Thanks to everyone who listens to the podcast. Stay hydrated. And thanks to everyone who is a YouTube thug. Thanks to everyone on Patreon. Couldn't live without you. So thanks. I found someone to go raid. They look like they're building Lego. That's super weird. Let's go be weird with them. Thank you once again, Clemens. Talk to everyone soon. Have a nice day.